I want to take you through the standout moments of that testimony with my colleague Michael Couteur, who has been inside the room listening to that testimony. Mike, I think a lot more came out of the initial testimony than the cross-examination. We saw sort of like more around the issues that were initially brought up, and I will start on the issue of Han Dong. That is the independent MP, once Liberal MP. Lots of questions swirling around his nomination race, and we heard some more from the Prime Minister. And then on cross-examination, beyond just the questions around the nomination race, allegations from Global News initially that reported on it, that Mr. Dong had communicated with a Chinese consul and urged him essentially not to release the Michaels because it would advantage the Conservatives. The Prime Minister commented on that just in the last number of minutes as well.
Yeah, and really echoed what Brian Clow, his deputy chief of staff, had basically said, which essentially is that they wanted to get information out there which countered that narrative. And certainly they felt that there were falsehoods and inaccuracies in those leaks and in that reporting. And part of the reason that they thought that they could hire a special rapporteur or appoint a special rapporteur was to really help with that and get the message out about that, saying that's why they engaged David Johnston as a special rapporteur and thought that that would help in some sort of a way. Trudeau was asked about that 2021 call about the two Michaels, and he's voiced doubts about CSIS's account of it and said that there was a lot of uncertainty around the service's account of that intercepted call. But also, when pressed on that, really sort of had to mind his words and said, look, there's a lot that I can't say because of the concern of making sure that we don't, put in danger any type of, national security in disclosing what he knew and what he didn't know around that. So interesting that the Prime Minister and his staff really felt that they needed to try and counter that narrative out there.
I think the other sort of big issue that we are, grappling with through this inquiry is really the political question is around how much was the Prime Minister made aware of? How much did he ask to be made aware of? And what did he base the decisions he made or didn't make on how to act around these allegations? What stands out to you in what we heard over the last number of hours from the Prime Minister on that front?
Yeah, certainly that he does lean on his national security and intelligence advisor for a lot, not just of the briefings, but also in terms of that advice, saying that, look, that this is a CSIS, they understand and they know some of this intelligence, but also really that push-pull that Katie Telford, his chief of staff, was talking about yesterday, and how sometimes they look at this and now they are starting to understand, or they have started to understand over the last number of years of being in government, that there is that pushback factor in that ability to do that. I think, him being asked specifically about that February 2023 briefing document from CSIS that we had spoken about earlier, and how it was more about talking points than it was something that was read verbatim to him. He said ultimately state actors, or the actual statement in that document, I should say, said state actors are able to conduct a foreign interference in Canada because it's a low risk, high reward, and there are no consequences. Asked bluntly whether or not that was conveyed to him, the Prime Minister said, no, it wasn't. And that sort of gives further credence, Vassy, to the fact that the Prime Minister says that, in these meetings, it was more of a back and forth conversation where they would establish certain facts, the threat of foreign interference from China and other actors, and then go into more granular details about it.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. Mike, thanks for your reporting tonight. I appreciate it.